Diagnosed with prostate cancer? Your first instinct? Fight or flight, right? Makes perfect sense. But before we even go there, let's talk about why this isn't your dad's prostate cancer. Things have changed, even just in the last few years. Honestly, the majority of men over 60, even over 50, if they got tested, they'd probably find out they have some form of prostate cancer, they just don't know it. It's incredibly common that Gleason 6, grade group 1, you were diagnosed with. Far more common than people realize. So that's where active surveillance comes in, which, I gotta say, just sounds way more proactive than watchful waiting. Watchful waiting, it's more hands-off. Active surveillance, though, it's about monitoring carefully and only intervening if it becomes absolutely necessary. Think of it like a high-tech security system for your health. You're not setting off alarms constantly, but you've got sensors in place to catch anything suspicious early. It is about buying time. Time for maybe new treatments to come out. Time for you to live your life without unnecessary intervention. But anxiety will become a big part of your process. Which, completely understandable. Lots of men on active surveillance experience anxiety. It's almost like a secondary diagnosis. And that's why it's so important to figure out, where is your anxiety coming from? Is this just how you are generally? Or is it specifically the cancer diagnosis that's triggering it? Because that changes how you manage. It often takes self-reflection. Have you always been prone to anxiety, or is this a new beast altogether? Pinpointing that root cause can make your coping mechanisms that much more effective. 235, 248, Speaker 1. So how can we almost use this period of active surveillance as a timeout to learn about yourself? It's so much more positive than just waiting and worrying. A time to not only monitor the cancer, but to prioritize your overall well-being. Something as simple like a brisk walk a few times a week can really help reduce anxiety and improve your mood. But let's spend some time talking about how the PSA test fits into your life now. For years, PSA levels were like the be-all and end-all of prostate cancer monitoring, right? But now we know PSA is just one data point, and it can fluctuate for a whole bunch of reasons that have nothing to do with cancer progression. So in the past, we might have been hitting the panic button too soon. We're really moving away from just PSA levels and looking at a much more holistic picture. Take the PSMA PET scan, for example. It's really revolutionizing how we're detecting and monitoring prostate cancer. See, traditional imaging, it often struggled to tell the difference between the slow-growing cancers and the more aggressive ones. This PSMA PET scan, it's like a heat-seeking missile, zeroes in on those prostate cancer cells, wherever they are. But even with all these advances, you still really have to be your own advocate. It's your body, your life, your decision. Did you know a lot of men, they don't realize they can actually ask for an MRI before even having a biopsy? It's not always offered, but it should be. An MRI before a biopsy, it helps pinpoint the suspicious areas so you can avoid unnecessary biopsies down the line. Don't be afraid to ask. Okay, let's get into the nitty-gritty here. What does active surveillance actually look like in practice? For someone with a Gleason 6, grade group 1, the typical protocol revolves around monitoring, but in a balanced and strategic way. We're talking regular PSA tests, usually every 6 months or so, just to keep an eye out for any significant jumps. MRIs are usually done annually or sooner, of course, if the PSA starts climbing or any other red flags pop. Sometimes your doctor will suggest another biopsy. Biopsies give us that direct look, right, at the cellular level of your cancer. Helps determine if it's the kind that's happy to just hang out or if it's got any concerning characteristics that might require a more proactive approach. It's about finding that balance, being vigilant, but not going overboard with the testing. And the good news is, active surveillance protocols, they've evolved a lot. It's not that rigid one-size-fits-all approach it used to be. Back in the day, the active surveillance protocols were much more aggressive. Frequent biopsies, a lower threshold for recommending treatment. But over time, we've learned that for a lot of men, especially with that low-risk disease, a less intense approach can be just as effective and it preserves quality of life. It's so important to have that open, honest conversation with your doctor. Figure out the absolute best protocol for you. Take everything into account: Gleason score, your overall health, any anxieties you have. It's all part of the equation. The major advantage, I'd say, of active surveillance is that you can avoid or at least delay SID-active treatment-based side effects like erectile dysfunction, urinary incontinence, bowel problems. The financial cost is significant too. These are serious side effects and they can have a long-term impact on your daily life, your relationships. It affects everything. Active surveillance allows you to really live your life to the fullest without those treatment side effects, but still have that peace of mind that your cancer's being closely watched. It's the best of both worlds in a way, but only if your cancer stage is low enough. If you are intermediate or high stage, then you need to have a deeper conversation with your doctor about treatments. And that's why that open line of communication with your doctor, it is so vital. They are your partner in this. And together, you can navigate the twists and turns, always keeping your best interests, your personal goals, and your overall well-being front and center. Don't be afraid to speak up. If something doesn't make sense, ask for clarification. Tell them your concerns. Advocate for what you need. Remember, you are the expert on your own body, your own experiences. No one knows that better than you. And if at any point you're just not feeling it, like your concerns aren't being heard, or you just don't jive with how your doctor communicates, it's more than okay to get a second opinion. Finding a doctor you trust, someone you feel comfortable with. It's about that connection, that feeling that they listen to you, they respect your values, and they're willing to work with you, not just tell you what to do. It should feel like a partnership, like you're both on the same team, not like a dictatorship or something. Don't be shy. Ask about the specific tests they're recommending. Why are they doing this particular test? How often will you need it? And what would the results actually mean for you? Because everyone is different. And if the frequency of testing, if that itself is causing you a lot of anxiety, tell your doctor that. There might be ways to adjust the schedule while still making sure everything's being monitored properly. Ask about the specific things that would basically make your doctor say, okay, we need to switch from active surveillance to a more active treatment approach. And keep in mind those thresholds, they can actually change over time. As new research comes out, as technology gets even better. So it's not about memorizing a static set of numbers. It's about having that ongoing conversation with your doctor, staying up to date. And remember, it's not just about those medical facts and figures. A big part of this is about you, your values, your priorities, how comfortable you are with risk. Some people, they're good with the wait and see. Others, they want to be more proactive. There's no wrong answer. It's about what feels right for you. And that might evolve too. What feels right today might not feel right a year from now. And that's more than okay. That's the beauty of this whole active surveillance approach. It's got that built-in flexibility. It's not a lifelong commitment. It's something you can adjust along the way as needed.